My name is Ben Knowles from East Coast Yacht Sales, and in this video I'll be talking about a common question that we get, which is, what is the ideal tender to have on an Axopar? And in this video I'll be walking you through what I like to do when I go cruising with my family on my Axopar. So please take a look at this video. If you have any questions for us, please do feel free to reach out using the information below this video. Okay, so this is my tender setup that I like to use on the Axopar. This is probably the least sexy tender in the whole world, which is a soft bottom floor, not an inflatable floor, just a soft bottom inflatable. And what I love about this setup is that it is boiled down, simple, easy, and most importantly, it's very, very lightweight. My goal is to be able to get the tender from the water onto the racks here in one fell swoop by myself. So lightweight is important for us. And I also like it how it can roll up into this sausage here. I'd say, just guessing here, this may weigh 40 pounds, maybe just under 40 pounds or so. This thing is probably older than I am, but I will get you the specs. Once I blow it up, I'll measure it just so you guys can get a sense as to its length and beam and all that sort of stuff. But it is boiled down very simple. The oars just break in two. These can easily store in that bow compartment here. And one key feature is this an electric 12-volt pump. This has on the side here a cigarette lighter, and I can plug it into the port right next to the helm there, and this will automatically pump up the tender, which makes it just easy work and a lot less time as well. This is a iRocker. The model is the HT-796. I'm sure there's a bunch of DC 12-volt electric pumps out there, but this is what came with a inflatable stand-up paddleboard that I got, which I also will use to get ashore sometimes as well, depending on the situation. When the goal is to bring the full crew, if I'm skeptical on being able to drop off my family on shore, whether it's on a beach or a rock face or whatnot, if I think it might be a little bit of a rough area, I'll bring this tender. If I know there's a nice calm beachy location where I can just nose the bow in and drop the ladies off the bow, then I'll probably just bring a simple stand-up paddleboard with me. But when more on cruising mode or maximum adventurous mode, this is the setup that I really like. And there are three different positions where I can, well, I guess four different positions where I can put this tender depending on the situation. The ideal program, and where we'll leave today, we're off on a little adventure today, is I'll have it fully inflated up on the racks here and just strapped down. But if the negative with that setup is that if we do get into foul weather or we end up running at night, it does affect the radar. So in those situations, I'll just deflate the tender, put it into sausage mode, and either store it up on just tucked up in the bow here, or I'll just lash it down right in the back here. Lots of different places where you could put this tender. And the other two locations, obviously we talked about the hardtop, which is preference, that's one. On both in the bow, that's two. Sausage mode back here, that's three. And if I'm going for a short distance and it is inflated and I'm feeling extra lazy, I will just keep it inflated and lash it down over the aft sleeping cabin here. So but I'm just going to show you what it's like to inflate this thing with this electric pump, so you guys can get a sense as to the ease of handling this setup. So here she is, guys. She does have some luxury to her because she does have those 4 wooden slats there, but yeah. And so what I like to do to get the tender up on the hardtop is I'll grab the bow line, and there's a rope handrail on the port side on the bow of the boat, and so I'll get the bow line through that port side handle and spin the boat around so the bow is the bow is facing forward, and I'll use that bow line to pull the tender up on its side. And once it's nice up and up on its side, from underneath I'll lift it up and put it up on the hardtop. It takes a little jigging around and whatnot, but it's pretty simple, and it's not because it's a nice and light tender, it's not very difficult to do. So this is why I really like to keep it simple and keep the tender light, so this part of the job is easy by yourself. So positioning the tender, I just like to have her nice and center line. And then for the trance on the back of the tender, what I'd like to do is to just have it just forward of the radar. As I mentioned before, this tender up on the boat like this does affect the radar. So if you find yourself running at night or in poor visibility, you gotta take the tender down, deflate it. Not a big deal, but on a nicer day, good visibility, having the tender up there is pretty slick. And what I like to do is I'll just lash from this point here and this point here. I'll just take a line and tie her down just like that. Again, because she's light, she won't move around all too much in a CUA. So one other thing while I'm thinking about it is having a solar panel up here. I've talked about solar panels on previous videos, the electrical orientation on the 28. Having a solar panel partially covered by anything, whether it's a stand-up paddleboard, a tender, or whatever, having it be partially covered is not good for these solar panels, but for a short period of time like this, not a big deal. I don't keep this tender up here for long periods of time, and part of the reason for that is so I don't cover up my solar panel. Even with a panel even slightly covered like it is now, it won't be nearly as efficient as if it's fully exposed to the sun. So, but it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I think out of all the various options, I think this is a great setup. I know it's not fun to talk about a really insignificant, simple, lightweight tender, but I think for the ease of use, ease of handling, I think it's the way to go. And again, for those of you who are trying to determine overall length, this is 8.5 feet by 4.5 feet. And I think this sits quite nicely on the hardtop of the 28. Obviously you can still have this sunroof open and get some nice fresh breeze in there. So it's pretty sweet. If you did want to eliminate the need for having oars and you want to complicate your lives a little bit, these tenders do typically have a little bracket where you could attach a torpedo engine, which the torpedo engines would be very easy to handle and deal with. They break apart in a couple different sections, and you can just put them in that bow storage locker as well, and then just charge them up when you get back. Another nice thing about the electric pump is there's a reverse mode, so you can literally suck out the air when you're gonna roll it up back into sausage mode. So this thing is very compact, and it makes for putting this thing to bed much easier. I hope you found this video helpful as far as what we like to do when carrying a tender on our Axopar. If you want to see more videos like this, please click the subscribe button for more videos like this.